All right. Anyways, let's we're at the straightaway, and so we're gonna do our this week's movie review, which is Wild Things. And yeah, I must admit, watching it again, it gave me the feels, just as when I first saw it as a young man.
Yeah.
And but yes, the story. If you guys don't know, the story for Wild Things goes something like this: um, a small kind of insular community in South Florida. You know, a young woman accuses a guidance counselor at her school of raping her, and they go through the whole process. He's ostracized from the community. They go to trial, and he is ultimately found to be not guilty because there's not just one lone accuser, but another girl steps forward and says that she was raped by him as well. But that second girl, she breaks down and admits that it was that she was lying, and it was all a plan concocted by the first girl. But then that's when it kind of really takes off. Um, exactly, and there's this plan that's set forth seemingly by those three characters: the guidance counselor, played by Matt Dillon, the first young girl to accuse her, played by Denise Richards, and the second student to accuse him, played by Nev Campbell. And you think that it's just like this kind of love triangle scam because Denise Richards' character comes from like a really wealthy family, and you think that it's just a plan to bilk the family out of the money, and for Matt Dillon and Denise Richards' character to run off together. But then it just gets so much. It just gets like the layers in this movie run so deep that it's just ridiculous. Robert, yeah, jump in here with your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah. So pretty much like as Andy was saying, it's like, yeah, it starts off as like this. Oh man, it looks like Me Too gone wrong kind of scenario.
Right. I mean, yeah. If
And
you, like
then
the first half of this movie is kind of like is kind of relevant for today's day and age, but the twist kind of nullifies it.
but then when he's exonerated and he wins a lawsuit against the like the girl, the rich girl's family, but it's like, wait a second, the movie's nowhere near done. It's like halfway.
right, yeah, it's like at the halfway point where he gets exonerated and he gets that huge settlement check.
And then where you have another character who's one of the police officers, yeah, played by Kevin Bacon, and he's saying it's like, no, this is all it was all fabricated. It's bullshit. There's something not right about this guy and about the two girls. Something just, it doesn't add up. And so he starts digging in deeper and trying to kind of scratch at the surface. And you come to find out that Matt Dillon, Denise Richards, and Nev Campbell, their characters were all in cahoots to steal. Because what ended up happening is the girl, Denise Richards, her character had
Kelly.
a trust that. Yeah, Kelly Van Ryn, I believe, was her character name.
Yeah.
And she had a trust set up in her name that she couldn't, get money from until later in time. So her mother, who had also slept with Matt Dillon's character, which was, what was his name? It was
Sam Lombardo.
Yeah, Sam Lombardo. He was kind of a womanizer in a sense, and to pay him the settlement, she had to break the trust and give him the money. and that was the whole plan. And they were then Lombardo, Van Ryn, and then what was Nev Campbell's character's name?
Susie.
Susie. Yeah, they all were going to split the money three ways, but they had
Hmm.
to do it kind of in a secretive way so that people didn't kind of catch wind of what was going on. And they were all kind of they kind of had a threesome, a thruple. They were a thruple, if you will, and
Yes,
uh,
a gentleman's threesome, not a devil's threesome.
yeah, you're right. That this is true. Uh, and so, what was and then Kevin Bacon? What was his name in the movie again?
Ray something. Ray Duque, Duqua, something like that.
Yeah. So, anyways, his character like starts kind of scratching at the surface, and you think like, oh, he's the one that's going to catch them, and he ends up kind of the things that he was because he started attacking them individually, and he
Hmm.
started kind of breaking their confidence in like
Yeah,
in
trying
the
to like
connection.
the slightest little pebble in their shoes to make
Yeah,
them question
exactly.
like to
And
question like the motives of of the others and and yeah, this it's crazy how like how many layers this movie had. Just because when you find out that Matt Dillon's Sam Lombardo was actually in on it, and it was all orchestrated um, from the beginning, and then like the uh, that they're all in on it, and that then like you think that Sam is like the real mastermind, and then slowly it begins to unspool, and you actually see the layers, and eventually it gets to like the end, and you're like, wow.
I was blown away at how it all like played out. I was like, I did not expect that whatsoever. And yeah, it's like the more you went through like the second half of the movie, it's like this person killed this person who backstabbed, and then they backstabbed this person, and the person that they thought they backstabbed was actually backstabbing them, and it just kept going and going, and it's like what wow. It just I was because all I remember is obviously the wonderful scene in the
Yeah,
pool
as
at
a
the pool
young
scene
man,
with
I wasn't watching this movie that critically, but
no.
so I forgot a lot of what happened. But essentially, Kevin Bacon's Ray, police, Sergeant Ray, he was in on it, and then slowly and slowly, and then I think part of it, I think part of the plan was for Sam Lombardo and Kelly Van Ryn to be together at the end, but it didn't end up happening. Because Kevin Bacon's Sergeant Ray, ends up killing her. But just like this, it's funny because like during his like after he kills her, but we don't know that he's killed her. We just think that they had like a tussle, and and it was an accident that he killed her, but it was all intentional. But like he was like he looks like devastated. It's like, oh, and but then like you see him, and like he's in the shower, he's in the shower in the hotel room of Matt Dillon's characters, and it's like, oh, and it's like, holy crap, they were in on it together.
They
And
were in
just like,
cahoots.
it's like how many people are actually in on this, and then it's you slowly, but then like slowly you kind of get like these kind of nervous feelings about the characters and like their intentions, and like at the end, Sam and Ray are on the boat, and and Sam tries to off Ray, um, but that doesn't end up happening. But his first attempt doesn't pan out so well. But then at the end, he shot. Ray is shot by what's her face, Susie, with a
Yeah.
spear gun, and because prior to all this going down, we were led to believe that Sam kills Susie, and then dumps her body in the swamp, so that he and Kelly can run off together. But but then it turns out like it's actually Sam and Susie that are ending up running away together. But then another twist, Susie ends up killing Sam, and at the end, she is revealed to be the actual mastermind behind everything.
Yeah, and it had to do something where she was kind of like the stepsister to Kelly's character.
Or yeah, she was the no. She was the illegitimate child of her mother's father. So she was actually half sisters with her mother, which made Susie Kelly's aunt.
Was that God? That's really fucked up.
Yeah,
It's more fucked up than I realized.
especially the scene that they had.
Oh my God,
it
that's
gets
right.
real incesty.
Oh God, that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like thinking about it, like it's kind of. I was more focused on like kind of the twists and turns that the thing was taking.
Right.
But now that I'm like looking back, it's like that whole scene is really fucked up.
No, yeah, it is. And when I realized, because when Susie's like supposed like grandmother, it's not actually the grandmother. It was just like it was just like a close friend of her biological mother,
Yeah.
and like she kind of like took who kind of just like raised her. And suppose there's like some sort of backstory with like the Van Ryan family and how like they're they're obviously come from money, and they used to come down to like the poor like the Everglades part of town, and they would go hunting and whoring, as Susie's grandmother or quote unquote grandmother would say, and
Right.
Susie was actually the result of Kelly's mother's father's dalliances, so which does make her half sisters with Kelly's mother.
Yeesh.
Yeah, and so and
Yikes.
and then it's revealed that Susie is like a genius level IQ. Like she has like her IQ is like 200 or something.
Right.
For some reason, and so like yeah, she like even though you think that she's like this kind of like poor like victim bystander type character, she's actually like the secret mastermind. And it wasn't until the end of the movie where they kind of like do like, oh, this is how we did the trick, and they reveal all the steps that went into the events of the movie. From the first time that Kelly approaches Sam Lombardo and propositions him, and they start their affair. Even though he's having an affair with her mother. And then Susie's character, secretly photographs Sam, multiple affairs with both Kelly and her mother.
Yep.
And then I guess concocts this plan to bilk the Van Ryans out of their money, and then that's when they bring in Kevin Bacon's Sergeant Ray into the plot, because he's kind of like a dirty cop. He loves his horse too, and he's easily he'd be easily manipulated into participating, and it's really crazy, and
it had a lot more depth and layers than I expected, and I really really liked the movie because of that.
Me too. Me too.
It's not just some like sex romp. you
Right.
know,
I mean, because when I was when I was a young man, this movie came out like 20 years ago. So yes,
yeah,
when I was a young man, I was only watching it for a certain reason.
me too.
You know, I was only watching it for a certain reason, and I wasn't, and I wasn't necessarily watching it for, with a critical eye or appreciation for storytelling.
Yeah,
But, but watching it now as an adult, I really like this movie. And something that I was gonna bring, we were talking about this before we started recording, but and I wanted to save it for when we did record. Uh, but for me, there was a lot of like Hitchcock elements to this movie, and I don't know if you felt the same
right.
way.
Yeah, I did. I did. I was gonna bring that up.
Right? Yeah. So that's what I meant. That's what I was alluding to before we started recording about this movie. Is like it felt very much like a Hitchcock movie, and so and props to wait, hold on, let me see if I can find the director. Yeah, McNaughton. John McNaughton.
Yeah,
Kudos to him for, um, you know, getting like all the beats right, and even like his choice in the soundtrack too. It was very Hitchcock. There's times I was watching it and it was very Hitchcock.
yeah. It did feel like a very modern Hitchcock film.
Hmm.
Um, lots of twists and turns. You're not really sure. Not everyone is playing the part that you expect them to be playing.
Right.
Because who the hell would have figured Susie would have been the conspirator of all this thing? She
Yeah,
was the one
the
that was
secret
orchestrating
mastermind
all the
behind
events.
all of it. And yeah, and like the only reason why she yeah she and it was funny because like because during like the subterfuge in the first half of the movie, like the reason why she supposedly even agreed to testify against Sam Lombardo was because she was arrested for some kind of possession, and she had called Sam Lombardo for help, but he didn't answer.
Right,
Right, and so like that was like the reason that she gave, but then you find out at the end of the movie when they do like the kind of like, oh, okay, this is how we did the trick. The reason why he didn't answer, or well, before that, like his reason for not being able to help her was because he was out of town. But it turns out that he didn't help her because he was actually off, having his affairs with Mrs. Van Ryan and Kelly Van Ryan.
right.
And so
It was just it was really fucked up. But in kind of a good way where it just uh, man, I was blown away. I like this movie a hell of a lot more than I realized I was gonna like it.
right. I mean, when you watch this movie when you're, when you're 13, you're not gonna really appreciate it for all of the intent, all of the work and intentionality that went into making this movie.
Right, but here's the thing. 20 years later, God, that scene's still great.
Oh yeah, superb. Still, again, it gave me all the feels that I had when watching this as
I felt honestly, I
when I
felt
was
like
like 14,
I was,
when I was
yeah,
like 13, 14, yeah, it still gave me all of the
yep.
feels.
I had the same feelings all over again. But
Right.
yeah, no, the movie is really good. I agree with you with the Hitchcock elements to it. Just a lot of subterfuge and intrigue, and it always left you guessing. Like I did not expect that ending, uh, and so yeah, it was the other character we didn't bring up was the lawyer, Bill Murray's character,
Oh yeah,
who
surprise
also played a part.
cameo by Bill Murray, the man, the myth, the legend. He plays kind of like this ambulance chaser kind of lawyer who's like the only one who's willing to take on the case of Sam Lombardo. because he's been he's been you know ostracized from the community, and that's reflected in like even um, in the line that Bill Murray says, like, "Oh, so what are you doing in this part of the town?"
Right.
Meaning that he had no since the rape allegation came out against him, like he has no allies in that town,
Yeah. And
and
then, but
so
he also played like a huge part in Susie's plot. Like, he was the one that like he was actually working alongside of her to get her that money. Minus his like 10% cut, of course.
right, of course, you can't, you're not gonna do all that for free, and
Yeah.
and so like
So, but yeah, I really like the movie. Good acting, good story, good soundtrack. It had all the great elements.
indeed. Although it was really funny because it did take me kind of on a time warp because like they had that scene where the guidance counselor Sam Lombardo was giving the kids a ride home, and that what was that? Who's that band? Was it Sugar Ray?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it
that
was like
song was
Sugar
played on
Ray
the
or like
radio. Like they used that song as a soundtrack. I was like, oh my god, this is so 90s.
yeah, it's like oh yeah, this is what 1998. Of course,
Yeah,
this is
but
this is the music at
it's
the
so
time.
funny because it kind of makes me sad because um I feel a movie like this will never be made nowadays, especially like as exploitative as it is, in terms of of all like the nude scenes and stuff. But it's there's like it was I don't know why. Maybe it's like maybe it's the nostalgia filter on it, but it's just like it was so well done. It hit all of like the right notes, and I
Absolutely.
don't mean that in like kind of a sleazy way, but it's just like you know it hit all the right spots where like a man like should like feel aroused about, you know, and there was like
Yeah,
an artist. It was kind of an artistry. Again,
yeah. I
not to
don't know.
sound like some like lewd, horn dog or whatever, but it was, it was visually, it hit all the right, all the notes.
Right, but it also makes you think. It's like it is kind of a you know according to feminism today, it is kind of women empowering because they were the seductresses that kind of put things in motion. It wasn't we think of Sam Lombardo as kind of the main conspirator, like he was the guy behind it, but it wasn't him. We were fooled into thinking it was him. It was Susie, or for a time we thought it was Kelly Van Ryn, but then she wasn't. She ends up getting killed. It was Susie all along that was really the one that was pulling the puppet strings on everybody.
That's that's right. Because once you know that it was Susie who was the mastermind behind this, then it kind of takes a complete you realize that Sam was never in charge.
Yeah,
He was
I
just
mean,
he was just another pawn on the board.
right.
And so actually, Wild Things is the most feminist movie.
I agree. Um,
so I can appreciate it guilt free.
but anyways, what would be your rating, Andy?
Um, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but yeah, I'd give it a 4.
That was going to be my rating too. I give it a 4 because I kind of like that. I didn't like that they revealed everything kind of at the end. I liked having
Right,
that
exactly. Like at the end, they kind of like show like the chain of events that led up to everything, and just like well, like the one scene that I'm okay with is at the end when you realize that Susie is the mastermind, and the lawyer comes and brings her like some cash, and then also like the check, and then
right.
they have like that kind of quick back and forth. And the scene, the
That
end,
you're
kind of
okay
like the
with?
end credits scene that I think doesn't take away from the movie, because all the other ones where they show like again uh, Kelly Van Ryan propositioning Sam Lombardo to start their affair, to the recruitment of Kevin Bacon's Sergeant Ray, to the supposed beating of Susie, when it was actually she was the one that was ripping out her teeth,
Oh
to
yeah,
leave as evidence for the police to find. All that stuff is unnecessary, and I think kind of takes away from the kind of the
the
cleverness
mystery.
of
Yeah,
the movie. But okay, all right, there you go. Wild Things. Me and Robert give it a 4. Go watch
4
it.
stars.
All right, remember, men, it's the most feminist movie, so you can watch it.